Soccer situation.
What's up, y'all? Welcome to episode 20 of Soccer Situations. I'm Todd.
And I'm Alex.
This week we're going to check in with the mega managerial merry-go-round. There's been some updates. We're going to check in with Alex, representing all of Arsenal fans' mental health. See where they're at right now. And we're going to, I wasn't even planning on it, but since Liverpool just hit 6 past Leeds, we're probably going to talk about that a little bit as well.
Yeah, why not?
First, I want to start with a nice bit of drama, though, and that's Sadio Mane at Bayern Munich.
Oh, I love it.
Such a surprise saga.
Out of
for
character behavior coming out of Bayern Munich.
Liverpool fans, it's funny to think his legacy with Bayern fans is going to be so different. He's such a villain there, and he's such a saint to Liverpool fans. But yeah, it's been reported that Bayern Munich have fined him 300,000 something. I think.
Yeah.
I've seen 260,000 pounds. I've seen 300,000. I've seen 500,000 euros. I don't know what it really is. But a lot of money. I think it was confirmed that it was an unprecedented quote fine. To rewind just a bit, sorry. If y'all don't know, there was a disagreement between Leroy Sané and Sadio Mane during a Bayern Munich loss to Manchester City. Apparently, Sané didn't like a run that Mane made. When it got back to the locker room, Mane said he didn't like the way Sané talked about him, and he punched him in the face.
Yeah, pretty intense reaction. Makes you really question what was actually said by Sané, especially because Mane's never really done anything like this in the past.
No, he's always seemed so mild-mannered, and yeah, I don't know. It does seem out of character, but there has been this kind of vibe of him being an angry, a malcontent at Bayern Munich.
Interesting. It's interesting. I wonder if he's just unhappy there in Germany.
It's
if he doesn't feel like he's settling.
Yeah, it's difficult for me and probably any Liverpool fan to imagine him being this salty around the team, around the clubhouse.
Yeah.
But who knows?
Yeah, sometimes players have that kind of character in them, and you didn't realize it. And even players like Aubameyang would have his moments at clubs where he was good.
Right.
And then he also had his moments in his career where he was a real dickhead.
Sure.
So, I don't know. Maybe Mane has that in him, and we just didn't realize it.
Yeah, I mean, people are complicated, that's for sure.
Yeah. But still a funny story. The photos of Sané with his little swollen lip was pretty funny.
Yeah, it's true. Landed a good one, it looks like.
Yeah, he got him at least once pretty good, yeah.
Where do you think he's going to go?
Mane?
Yeah.
Ooh, yeah, that is true. Where does he go from here?
Obviously, his value is going to plummet a little bit. I don't think he's going to go to another top team. Does he even stay in Europe at all, or does he now go to...
How old is he?
30-something.
I could see him getting a move back to the Premier League, maybe.
Yeah?
Or if he wants to ride off, maybe he goes the MLS route.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering, if he goes cash grab and does Saudi Arabia or MLS.
He is he gives a ton of money, right, back to his hometown.
Yeah, for sure.
So, I guess you could see him maybe doing the cash grab just for that reason, to be able to get as much money as he can in his career to send back home or to help his help people.
Yeah, in my head it was so assumed that it was for charity that I literally didn't even think to say it.
I know, right?
Like I said, we think of him as a saint, honestly, but he is well known for building tons of infrastructure back in his hometown in Senegal, and that was what I was implying when I said cash grab. Not that he was doing it for any kind of selfish
himself.
reason.
Yeah.
But anyway, I was daydreaming about, was it last episode I was talking about the possibility of Firmino going to LA as soon as I get there?
Yeah, that
Maybe
would
we
be
can get
ideal.
Firmino and Mane reunion in LA, dude.
Yeah, oh my God,
Build
that'd
a
be insane.
Liverpool has-been super team in LA just in time for my arrival.
Milner can go out there too.
Oh, I would love it, dude. It's funny, I thought about Milner too, but Milner's so non-LA. He's the least LA footballer.
That's why it would be so
time.
great to see him in LA.
I mean, I say he's the least, but Steven Gerrard is probably the second least, and he went.
It's true.
But remember how awkward it was when he was in LA?
See, I think Milner would be cool in LA, though.
Yeah, he has a better sense of humor than Stevie.
He'd be like a nerd, but he'd own it so hard that he'd be cool in LA.
I could actually see Milner slaying it in Los Angeles.
Oh, big time, big time. I could see him pulling off a cool, like, older British dude vibe.
Yeah. He'd probably start a really funny podcast, and we'd have to hate him because he'd be way better than us.
Yeah, he'd crush us immediately.
If he did like a Peter Crouch-style podcast, it would be phenomenal.
I bet it would be so good.
Yeah. You could tell he's a really intelligent dude, really, really good sense of humor, and he's obviously been around long enough to have a lot of stories.
Right, right.
Yeah, another funny little story. Apparently, Todd Bowley went down to the Chelsea locker room after the loss to Brighton, and Kepa says that this is a normal thing. He's down there after every game, so it was totally normal for him to be there.
Yeah.
He's quoted as saying that the position they're in is embarrassing. Which, it's not
wrong.
exactly. They say, he went down there to give an inspiring speech. That doesn't sound super inspiring.
No, it's not very inspiring. But, he's also not wrong.
Right.
They are in an embarrassing state right now. But you could also point the finger at him for a lot of that as well.
Yeah, we laughed at his purchasing as he was doing it. It's not like we didn't see this mess coming.
Yeah. I don't think we thought it would be quite this big of a mess.
No.
This long, at least.
No, because they spent so aggressively. They spent to the point that you assume that the talent can just overwhelm the lack of strategy.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I
mean?
mean?
You would assume that it would just come together enough for them to put some results together.
Mm-hmm. There is kind of a tipping point, but it doesn't seem like they're at it yet.
Yeah, they're not getting there, and it's not getting much better for them.
Anyway, damn it. I had one more point to make on that subject, but I lost it. It's all good.
That'll happen.
This is why you always take notes.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, Chelsea are still a mess. And I guess that's a good time to kind of take us to the manager merry-go-round update.
Yeah. Yeah. Obviously, Chelsea are hastening their search for a manager.
Yeah, our wish of Lampard to have a sort of Ole-like resurrection that got him in the job permanently doesn't seem to be happening. I think he's 0 for 4, isn't he?
At least 0 for 3.
Maybe 0 for 3, yeah.
Probably soon to be 0 for 4, though.
Pretty funny.
Isn't their next game Madrid?
Oh, yeah, it is. It is, yeah. Oh, yeah, that was the other point. I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah.
Apparently, part of Bowley's dressing room speech was that he said they had the chance to make it right against Real Madrid. It's like, uh-oh. If he thinks they're going to take that chance to make it right, he's going to be sorely disappointed.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't see that coming.
Super funny, right?
Yeah. Didn't he say something about them winning 3-0 too in the first leg?
He thought they would. Yeah.
He thought they were going to win 3-0.
I thought that was kind of funny because reporters were chasing him on the sidewalk on the way to his car.
Oh, yeah. I
and they were
asking. I saw that video.
And he was
actually.
like, we're going to win 3-0. And I respect that, to be honest. That's the right move, just to say that shit.
I mean, what else is he going to say at that point, really?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's funny.
And, of course, it gets taken by all the European press as he's an ignorant American.
Oh,
when really, he was literally just blowing off the press, obviously.
Yeah. I mean, we can judge him on a lot of things, but that thing is just, clearly blown out of proportion.
Right.
But funny.
But anyway, on to manager updates for teams in the hunt. In this case, Tottenham and Chelsea both. So the first headline I read today was that Chelsea had finally made face-to-face contact with Julian Nagelsmann.
Yeah, I saw that.
But also they're apparently really seriously considering Luis Enrique, who has emerged as Tottenham's main target as well.
Interesting.
Right?
He kind of came out I know it's always a big name floating out there, but it was kind of he's been quiet.
He's been on the list since Tottenham. Why can't I think of who they just fired? They've been going through a few of them. Antonio Conte was the latest.
Yeah.
I mean, Luis Enrique was on the first list of candidates that I read from Tottenham, but he doesn't make a ton of sense. He's basically only managed Barcelona and Spain.
Yeah. Which is not Tottenham.
Does he want to take on is he the man to take on this kind of messy ass project? Either one of these projects. I can speak for both of them.
Yeah, no.
Obviously, Chelsea, maybe you can relate a little bit more to Spain or Barca because at least they have an embarrassment of talent. Maybe
he have an embarrassment of riches
somehow.
Yeah,
he could definitely organize an offense in that team at least.
Yeah, it'd definitely be a better fit at Chelsea, you could say, than Tottenham.
But he's still going to have a squad to build, and I don't know if he has what kind of pedigree he has in doing that. Yeah. But anyway, It's a strange one for him to emerge as strong contenders for both of those.
Yeah, for both positions.
Considering everybody that's on the market. It makes me wonder if maybe quietly a few people have already ruled out the jobs.
Yeah, you can imagine a few people have already said no, thank you.
Right?
I mean, you could easily see people saying no, thank you to both those projects.
Yeah, like now I'm gonna let that scene settle down a little bit. Maybe I'll call you in a couple of years.
Yeah, I mean, in theory, the clubs have money and some infrastructure in place. Tottenham obviously have all new facilities, so like that's attractive, I guess.
Yeah,
but you can't look past the ownership for the last decade plus,
right,
of what they've done, which is just a mess.
Yeah, sheer mediocrity.
Yeah,
they've kind of postured like they want to take the next step. And they've never done it. They've never managed.
They've spent like they wanted to take the next step, and they never got it right.
Right, and now you have teams like Brighton. It's too early to say leapfrogging them.
Yeah, because Tottenham are still up there right now.
But boy, they're showing that it can be done quickly and with a lot more, I don't know, nimbleness. Is that a word? Than Tottenham have done it with.
Yeah,
Tottenham have taken 20 years to like slowly evolve into this point.
It's true.
And there's a lot of teams that are taking their newfound TV money and putting it to really, really smart use right away.
Yeah. Like I said, with Brighton, it's one of those things where I'm going to be sad to see that team kind of get picked apart in the summer. Mm-hmm. But they've been shown that they can just find new talent from anywhere. Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see how that project evolves. But yeah, like you said, they're seem so much further along in the project, or based on the amount of time versus where Tottenham have been for the past 20 years.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, you want to talk about Arsenal?
I guess we could talk about Arsenal.
You ready to talk about West Ham 2, Arsenal 2?
As this thing says, West Ham salvage a draw after being 2-0 down.
Yeah, Arsenal stormed right out of the gates. In the first few minutes, I was expecting a 5 or 6-0 mauling.
In the first 10 minutes, we scored twice in the first 10 minutes.
And it was champagne football.
Both goals are beautiful. Passes just clicking. Everything seemed like it was just flowing. It was going to be so easy.
Yeah.
And then it just fell apart.
What minute did they get that penalty in?
The 33rd minute.
33rd minute. And that pretty much derailed that game, didn't it?
Completely, yeah. It was just a bit of a loose play by Partey trying to come out from the back. He tried to flick it past Declan Rice, and Declan Rice got the ball, won the ball past him, and it was just like a quick break, and they scored, they got the penalty, it was one of those penalties that's frustrating as an Arsenal fan. Obviously, it was a penalty. Mm-hmm. Just frustrating because you could see the player going down before the contact was made.
Yeah, we looked. There was a freeze frame where he's throwing his arms up in the air like he's on a roller coaster.
Before
and the contact is still about 12 inches away.
Yeah, which is always a frustrating one. And the fact that Gabriel clearly tried to pull out of it.
Right.
But just wasn't able to stop his momentum.
But yeah, once the contact was made, it's never going to be overturned.
Yeah, and then unfortunately the team just didn't react the way you would hope they would.
Right.
They got to halftime. I feel like West Ham had some chances before the end of half too.
Yeah.
And we got to halftime, and I thought for sure, like, all right, they're just gonna regroup, and that's it. They'll be dominant again to start the second half, and it just never came. The dominance never came.
And I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
So I remember you being frustrated about Mikel's lack of changes or the timing of his changes.
Yeah, I think I've heard a lot of opinions about it since the match. People obviously have been talking about it like crazy on the internet. But yeah, I was pretty frustrated with the lack of changes. In the last two matches, I think we could have used changes a little earlier than we saw them. And I understand the loyalty to players like Odegaard and Saka and Martinelli. They've gotten us this far. They've shown they can do it.
Right.
But when the game was going the way it was going, and West Ham was getting chances, and we weren't really building anything with our momentum. We had possession, but we weren't able to get anything going. And it was just frustrating to see. I think we could have used some of those changes much quicker, especially Trossard. I would love to see Trossard get more time. But yeah, obviously that Bowen goal was a frustrating one. It's a pretty simple ball back in over the top for his goal. Yeah, and it just seemed like the team was just disheartened. But we kept trying, but there was just no cohesiveness, it seemed like.
Right. Well, I mean, I guess we don't even really need to talk about the game that much more. It kind of just petered out, right?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, it was just Arsenal trying to scrap
home
a goal.
So let's put you in like soccer therapy then. Of course, immediately the conversation becomes, is this team too young? Do they have the mentality to hold on in the final stretch? And so where are you at? Both like as a fan, yourself, where you think the team is, kind of, you don't have to go squad by squad or player by player, and then Mikel himself, if you thought he felt a little paralyzed in making changes there, where do you think everyone's at in terms of getting through the home stretch?
Yeah, I mean, well, we can't forget to mention just briefly, Saka obviously missed a penalty in the game.
Oh, right.
So that's obviously a huge blow, too, because we had the chance to go up 3-1. And then that penalty miss was a pretty brutal turn for them to go down and score moments later to tie it. But, yeah, I mean, the team, I think myself, I mean, it was a pretty devastating blow to the momentum I felt like we had going. Even after Liverpool, Liverpool was frustrating the way because it happened in the last couple minutes. But against Liverpool, you can kind of write that off and just say, whatever, a point at Anfield is fine.
Sure.
In a title-winning season, a point at Anfield will do.
Right. It's a cliche, but stuff can happen there.
Yeah, exactly. So this one obviously is a little more frustrating because it felt like it was in our hands to finish it. Right. And this is the first time in a long time we've seen the team kind of look like this, where they just didn't seem to quite have an idea of what to do next. Usually they're just able to turn it back on again. So that's a little concerning, but I don't think there's any reason to panic for Arsenal fans yet. Obviously, a lot rides on the City game now.
Oh, yeah. The season rides on that game. Let's not downplay it, Alex.
Yeah, I mean, it does and it doesn't because we both have to play Brighton still.
Oh yeah, that's true. We talked
to play Chelsea still.
Yeah, well,
I mean, Chelsea are a shit show, but I'm not. Yeah, right now nothing seems like a gimme anymore. But yeah, I mean, hopefully, all you can say, knock on wood. I hope Southampton can be our confidence booster before going into play City, because it seems like we could use a bit of a boost.
It's so funny how optimism shifts. You were on a 7-game winning streak, and then you had 2 draws, and now you're like, oh god, it seems like nothing's a gimme. Meanwhile, Liverpool were winless in 5, and we just smashed a relegation team, and I'm like, what are you talking about, man? It's all good.
Everything's fine. We're good.
Great. Dude, you're gonna turn it on. It's fine.
Yeah. No, honestly, even throughout most of that West Ham game, it didn't feel real because I've always had the confidence that we were going to get it done and get the goal. We'll find the goal somehow.
Sure.
And it was kind of weird, a weird emotion at the end of the game, because it was like, wow, we didn't do it. We've been doing it every single time. We didn't do it.
Yeah, it's true. When Liverpool are really pushing for a goal, they need a goal late in the game, I usually start to get really nervous in about the 70th minute.
Yeah.
That's where it's like
20
time
minutes
starts
left.
ticking. But yeah, I was so confident in that Arsenal team too that I think it was until about the 82nd minute that I started to sit up on the couch and be like, all right, guys, now stop joking around here.
Yeah, you have to get a goal here.
Yeah, let's get it done.
Yeah. I don't know. I trust Mikel. I think this is obviously a huge early test for him, so we'll see how he bounces back. But I feel like this team has had some ups and downs. They are young, obviously, but they've signed 2 Premier League champions for a reason, so they can have some experience in the locker room of winning something and how to get it done and how to get through these rough patches. And we just gotta hope that whole formula comes together and works. I mean, there's a lot of games left. City could still drop points. It's not like City are invincible. Leicester showed that. Leicester should have had a draw with City at least in that game.
1,000%
this weekend. So, yeah, I mean, it's far from over. But yeah, it's a big mental test for them. It's intense. I feel like this is the most intense season in a long time.
Yeah, the title race is always intense, man.
Yeah.
When we won it, I feel like at one point we were up by 15, and I still wasn't ready to write that
write it off.
To just take it for granted.
Yeah. It's also funny how I'm looking back at the stats of this game now, and we had 72% possession.
Oh, yeah.
It did not feel like that in my mind, though.
That's so
I feel like we
funny.
played so poorly that I feel like we didn't have that much possession. But, like, the stats say otherwise.
Yeah, I don't remember y'all playing particularly poorly. You just couldn't break them down.
Yeah. Yeah, there was no cutting edge.
You know?
A lot of misplaced passes in the last pass. Yeah, we don't have to talk about Arsenal anymore, though. We'll talk more about Arsenal later in this week.
All right, well, it's probably even more stressful than a title fight is a relegation battle.
Yeah. Yeah.
So let's be vultures today and feast on the week.
Yes.
And finally go through our ultimate relegation candidate shopping guide, I think.
Yeah.
We've been talking for a few weeks now about how this relegation battle is a special one because it goes all the way up to mid-table till about 12th or 13th place at this point.
Yeah.
I started my list with Bournemouth, I think, in 13th place. I don't know what teams you all include.
Bournemouth is on mine, too, yeah. So Bournemouth's 14th.
Oh, 14th place.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, below Wolves. That's
Yep.
right. Wolves, I counted out. My logic for the cutoff was there's about 8 games left, 8 games. I think any of these teams can get 2 wins at least.
And pull themselves out of it.
And so I kind of was looking at those that are 6 points out of the zone right now.
That's fair.
That
Yep.
was my cutoff point. Yeah.
Yep. No, that's totally fair.
Not that it needs to be mathematic because we're just talking shit about who we want to buy from these failing clubs.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, so let's start with Bournemouth. For me, the highlights were the forwards, and I wanted to ask you. So he's already been at Liverpool. Has Dominic Solanke made any kind of impression on you? Is he going to move to a Premier League team, or is he just going to go down and crush the championship, which he has done before?
I mean, you could see him going down and crushing it and trying to bring them back up.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like he's shown a bit more this year. Maybe he can get a Premier League move and stay at like a mid-table club.
The only reason I ask is purely recency bias. I just feel like the last few weeks where Bournemouth have gotten a few wins, I feel like I remember us saying Solanke's name a lot while we're watching the games.
Yeah, he
he's
has
been
seemed
involved.
like he's been very involved in all of their build-up play.
Right?
Yeah, he does seem very involved. Him and Billing.
Yeah, Billing is the other one on my list as well. They just signed him this year. He's Norwegian, right? Maybe Danish. I think he's Danish.
Danish? Yeah, he is. He's Danish.
He confused me at first because from the wide angle, he looks very much like Dominic Solanke.
They have like the same hair and facial hair.
Right, and he's a midfielder, but he plays in the pocket right behind Solanke, so they overlap all the time. Yeah, so it's they have the same physical profile. He's, I see him moving on as well, I think.
Yeah, he's a good player.
Seems like a good player.
Yeah, those two linking up together seem like definitely a dangerous combo for Bournemouth.
Right,
it's something that's kept them even just a little clear of the zone right now.
Yeah. Do you have your eye on anybody else at Bournemouth?
Bournemouth is a team I wasn't too certain. Those two, obviously. But other than that, no. I didn't really have a ton of people from them, other than the two we've mentioned already.
On to West Ham. I don't know about Fabianski. Keepers tend to be loyal, I feel like. They don't get moves. He's definitely Premier League quality.
Yeah, Fabianski's had a great career, especially since leaving Arsenal.
Yeah.
And yeah, he seems like a solid keeper, like a Premier League level keeper.
Right.
I'm sure if West Ham go down, obviously they would love to have him in the championship
for sure
to come back up.
Right. I glanced at their defense and it was just a hard pass on all of their defenders. No thanks. Their midfield is where it starts to get interesting.
Yep.
Obviously, Declan Rice is gonna go whether they stay up or go down.
Yeah, Rice has already been guaranteed to move.
He's not necessarily going to be a cut rate player. He's going to be
he's going to be expensive still.
Yeah. Especially if they do go down, he's going to be such an important source of funding for them.
Yeah, huge.
Outside of Declan Rice, I noted Pablo Fornals, Manuel Lanzini, Lucas Paqueta. They're all interesting squad players. I don't know if they're champion if you're going to be pushing for a title with those players.
Yeah,
but
for some of those teams coming up, maybe or like mid-table teams.
Yeah, they're players like Paqueta and Lanzini that I wouldn't mind seeing if they can step up a notch if they're playing in a better team,
It's true.
Yeah. In attack at West Ham, Danny Ings, Mikel Antonio, I think they'll probably find teams, although I feel like it's maybe time for Danny Ings to drop down to the championship.
Yeah, Ings I think kind of had his run in the Premier League.
Yeah. Maybe Antonio, too. I feel like he definitely can find a team because attackers are just in demand.
Yeah.
But, I mean, he's not
very productive.
He's been a pretty mid forward for a long time.
Yeah. He hasn't been very productive in a long time. He'll have his flashes each season.
Yeah.
Where he gets a handful of goals.
Maybe time for West Ham to cash in there.
Yeah. If they could, it'd be a good move for him to sell him.
Yeah, so for me, the only real attacker of interest at West Ham is Jared Bowen.
Yeah, I had Bowen and Rice down. I don't really know a ton about Paqueta, but he seems interesting.
Yeah, I'm not going to act like I have a really solid analytical grasp of his game.
Yeah.
But I like watching him play. And again, he seems involved in a lot of good attacking play. But, Jared Bowen, Liverpool were linked really heavily with him last summer. We were trying to get in on him before he got some hype, and we missed that window, so we didn't end up signing him. But he'll definitely get a move, I think.
Oh, yeah.
He's not going down with the ship.
No, he'll definitely move on. He's not going to go play in the championship at this point.
Right.
It's too good.
That brings us on to Leeds United, who I just watched get stuffed for 6 by Liverpool.
Yeah.
It wasn't a great advertisement for any of these players, I got to say.
No, not really.
But it's funny, the one I had on my list, Pascal Struijk, young Dutch defender. He's 23. Yeah. He had a fucking howler today for sure. Nightmare of a game. But he has struck me as a decent defender in the past.
Yeah, I mean, in a game like that, it's it can happen to anyone, especially if you're a young defender against Liverpool.
Yeah, there was so much space in that midfield. Liverpool were counterattacking with so much space. I don't know what the center backs could do by the time they were in the final third.
Yeah, they didn't stand much of a chance. It was
pretty brutal. I also had my eye on Jack Harrison. Again, a player I don't have a huge impression of.
Yeah.
But super mobile, seems like box-to-box midfielder. Right now, I think he's shown 4 goals and 6 assists in 29 appearances. So, 10 goal involvements in 30 appearances in this. That's not bad.
Again, it's another solid midfield player. The energy, that Leeds team, I always think of that team. I just think of, the energy that those midfielders put in.
Right.
Which is always, an admirable thing and a desirable thing. So I have Tyler Adams.
Oh yeah, he was gonna get in mine too. I don't know why I skipped him.
I have him and Aronson, both the 2 American kids. Mm-hmm. I think they're both gonna get a move somewhere in the Premier League. Both young players still, and I think they've shown enough this season, even though Leeds is down where they're at.
Sure,
that I think they'll get a move.
Is there an American-owned championship team that's coming up that can buy them?
I don't know who's coming up. I don't know who owns the teams.
So far, it's looking like Burnley and Sheffield. I don't know who else. We'll have to do some research. Find a nice, comfy American home for these boys.
Yeah, right. Oh, and I'm sure Weston McKennie's going to get a move.
Right.
Even though he just came in, I'm sure he's going to go back out.
At Leeds, it gets a little more interesting up front. They've got Sinisterra, Bamford, and Wilfred Gnonto. Gnonto, I think. Like gnocchi. Anyway, Sinisterra scored a nice goal against Liverpool today. Bamford is a pretty tidy little poacher for a mid-table team to have around. And Gnonto seems like he could be a really great prospect winger.
Yeah. I think a lot of teams are going to be keeping their eye on him.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if a Tottenham or hopefully a Brighton maybe or something could
scoop him up,
snatch him up. He might be too expensive for Brighton already.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how much interest there is. It seems like I've seen him linked with big clubs already, like Chelsea and Liverpool and Arsenal, and all the big names thrown around, obviously. But I think more likely we'll see him land somewhere like Everton. I guess Everton might be going down too, but but that kind of club,
sure.
Like Tottenham, Brentford, maybe.
I would say Liverpool, but we're just too loaded up front now.
Yeah, there's no room for him there.
Yeah, otherwise, I do not think we're too good for him at all. I think I like the look of him a lot. Do you have any other Leeds United players on your list?
I didn't have anyone else from Leeds.
Okay. Let's go on to Everton.
I
made the joke that Everton was the only relegation contender that didn't have anybody worth talking about, which I am still amused by. But in truth, Amadou Onana has been looking pretty good.
I was going to say, Onana is the one I definitely have 100% for sure.
He just came in this year. He hasn't gotten the Everton taint on him yet.
Yeah, and I think I think he's shown that he's a good player, and I think everyone knows that he's just kind of surrounded by a shit show right now.
Yeah.
So, I think he's 100% going to get a move out of there.
He is on a long-term deal, on a 5-year deal, I think.
Okay.
So
he's not going to be cheap.
Yeah.
That's not going to be a budget deal, I guess.
Alex Iwobi had a good season too.
Yeah, those are the two that are. Yeah,
he'll shift on, I think, somewhere.
It'll be interesting to see. Again, like I think it's funny. He was like a midfielder in the first half of the season. Was really well. They played really well.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll be interesting to see his next step in his career.
Yeah, for sure.
What he evolves into.
What do you think about Jordan Pickford? So he just signed a new deal this year. We both hate him more than anything, and I don't think he's a great keeper either, personality aside. But he did just sign a new deal that goes through 2027. And again, you see a lot more keepers be loyal and kind of stay with their teams.
Yeah.
But also, he's not going to be England's number one if he goes down.
No, if he goes down to the championship, there's no way.
He'll lose that spot. So does he force a move?
I think he has to.
Yeah?
Yeah, I think he has to. If he thinks he's going to still hold on to the England spot, and I know he's going to want to, so he'll have to force a move.
Yeah. For Everton forwards, it's a laughing stock. Fucking Neil Maupay, Dominic Calvert-Lewin, who was a good finisher for a little bit there, but I literally think he's played 12 games over the last 2 seasons.
Arsenal were heavily linked with him for a long time.
Yeah, he looked hot for a minute. Andres Townsend is getting up there. He has enough of a reputation, and I could see him winding up at whichever one of these relegation candidates stays up.
Yeah, exactly.
If Forest survives by the skin of their teeth, see Townsend moving over there. Something like that. Damari Gray, I think, is probably the only Everton forward of any real interest to anybody.
Yeah, Damari Gray has always been an interesting player. He's another one of those players that's like seems flashy, and just the end product has never really seemed to be there.
Yeah, my question is, do I only think he looks decent because I've just been watching him at Everton and I'm comparing him to everybody else in that team?
Yeah, exactly.
But he's got energy and a little bit of technique. I don't know.
Yeah, no, he can be dangerous. I've seen him like threaten defense on a consistent basis throughout a game, but then he doesn't really seem to get a lot of goals.
Right.
So
that's true. That takes us to Nottingham Forest, and this is where I kind of threw a tantrum and stopped doing research, because Nottingham Forest have the most insane squad ever.
Dude, there's too many players. I did the same thing. I picked out like 2 players, and then I was like, no, dude, what is this?
You might remember us talking about this, like Back to Soccer Situations episode 1. I feel like this is one of the first things we ever talked about. Forest, at the time we were saying they had signed 19. They ended up signing 22 players last summer. 22 players, 2 complete starting 11s on top of the full complete squad they had that got them promoted to begin with.
Yeah. They
built just like a fully NFL-sized squad. It's absolutely insane. The same kind of stuff that's contributing to the chaos at Chelsea right now.
Yep. Yeah.
They already fired the director of football that did that made all those signings. And they have since fired the director of football that they brought in to clean that mess up. So it's not looking great for the sort of tactical infrastructure Forest recruitment.
Not at all.
But the fact remains they have to unload a ton of these players, even if they do survive.
If they go down, this is a nightmare for them.
Right?
I feel like this is the kind of stuff that kills a club with the way this wage book has to look.
Yeah, I don't know the lengths of all these contracts, but that is the most bloated squad I've ever seen.
Like, unless they somehow convinced all these players to have relegation release clauses or something.
Right.
Holy shit.
Who did you pull out of the list anyway?
So I pulled Danilo out because Arsenal were linked with him already heavily before Forest came and swooped him up.
Okay.
He's a young Brazilian midfielder, plays more defensive midfield. Like, he's a solid midfielder from Brazil. I could see him getting a move. I could see Arsenal, if they can get a budget deal on him now.
Yeah.
And he's already gotten all the paperwork done to play in England.
Yeah, you think they'll go for it?
I think it could be a good deal for them.
That's cool.
The other one was Keylor Navas.
Yeah, Keylor Navas.
He's going to get a move somewhere for sure.
Yeah, everyone was surprised he signed there to begin with.
Yeah. The rest of these guys, like you said, I feel like there's probably talent in here, but there's so many guys that I don't even know if I've seen play.
Right.
So I can't really say.
Yeah, it's true. Their squad is just too big. You're like, wait, who is this guy?
Yeah.
Who is that guy?
I literally, like, a lot of these guys, I'm like, I don't know if I've ever seen them play. It's wild.
Alrighty.
To Leicester City.
Yeah, let's talk Leicester. Obviously, this is probably the biggest surprise in terms of relegation candidates.
Yeah, honestly, a club that seemingly had it together pretty well, and had a plan and had a good squad.
Recently won an FA Cup. Were recently very regularly in European competition.
Yeah, kind of a shocking fall off for this team.
They really plummeted, man.
And with that being said, there's still a lot of talent.
So much. This is the gold mine of the relegation candidates.
I feel like it, right?
James Madison, Soyuncu, Tielemans, Iheanacho, Patsendaka. Indeed, the list goes on. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Tielemans, I think, is out of contract, so he's 100% moving.
Oh, he is? Okay, I didn't even realize. Oh, that's right. That's right.
Yeah, so he's moving. Madison will definitely move, especially if they go down. Mm-hmm. Iheanacho will definitely find a team. He's Iheanacho. I feel like he could be so good.
Yeah,
I feel like he needs to find the right spot.
That's what I'm wondering. I think he might have like Danny Welbeck syndrome, where he's just always on the verge of being the real deal. He's 26.
He's 26, so he's like older, but he's not completely out of it.
Man, he's only got 4 goals this year.
Yeah, he hasn't been great in a long
tough.
time.
Maybe he just looks like a good player and he's just tricking us, man.
It could be one of those. That does happen.
It does every now and then. Even the most brilliant analysts like me get tricked sometimes. What about Jamie Vardy? Does he stay?
Yeah, I think Jamie stays.
He goes down.
He's not getting to move anywhere now.
He plays fucking alcoholic championship striker hero.
Yeah, he's past it. He's not getting to move.
Agree. But yeah, there's a lot of gold in that Leicester squad. So the question, I mean, honestly, bigger question: what happens to Leicester when they go down? Do they yo back up, or was that really the magic of the owner that passed away in that helicopter so tragically?
Yeah.
If you don't know, Leicester City's owner died super tragically in a helicopter accident. He used to kind of famously come into the stadium and exit via helicopter in the middle of the pitch.
Yeah, amazing. What a guy.
Sadly, one game it took off, got out to the parking lot and crashed.
Yeah.
And killed him. Probably one of the most beloved owners in football.
Yeah, truly a tragedy.
Anyway, the club's been in decline since then. And so, yeah, what do you think?
Yeah, maybe it was. I don't know. I guess I don't know enough about the infrastructure of the club to know how much has changed since then. But something's clearly not right there. There's some kind of weird energy at the place that's throwing everything off.
Sure. Before we go all doom and gloom, I guess maybe we should talk about how they almost came back against Manchester City.
That's just it.
They looked really
great.
good. And is Dean Smith the guy? Maybe he can save them.
I mean, yeah. I mean, that's the thing is none of these clubs are completely out of this yet.
True.
Yeah, maybe he can save him. Maybe Dean Smith's got the magic touch to get these players clicking again. I said when I saw him, I was like, he's the perfect manager for Leicester.
You did.
He fits.
We remember his Aston Villa being super fun.
Yeah.
They were killing it.
Yeah, and this is the type of team where those players that we're talking about, that's how they want to play.
Yep.
And they're going to be more willing to play like that, even though they're down in 19th. So we'll see.
I'm kind of pulling for Leicester.
I would not mind them getting out of this.
Yeah.
Yeah, obviously. There's plenty of other teams I'd prefer to go down than them.
Right.
They've been fun. They've been a joy to have around.
Yeah, for sure. Even though, they probably snatched Arsenal's last possible title out from their grasp.
It's true. It's true. I mean, that's Arsenal's own fault for that one. That should have been their title.
Right.
Yeah.
That was the year all the other mega teams just kind of parted ways.
Yep. That was the year that there was I had maybe a week of hope. I think we beat City that year, and it was a huge deal. And then we just stumbled after that, and Leicester just pulled away.
It's a bummer.
Yeah, it was a huge bummer.
At least it did result in one of the great Premier League stories of all time.
Yeah, no, that's the thing is at least silver lining is Leicester won the title, and that's pretty amazing.
One of my favorite storylines from that year was there was the Leicester fan that had bet on it, £50 or something.
Yeah, it's kind of a just joke.
Yeah, and he bet on it at 1 to 5,000 odds.
Our dad was calling.
Oh, it's all good. And as the season went on, the bookies kept offering him bigger and bigger buyouts. They were freaking out. I forget what his end total buyout. I want to say it was going to be $70 million or something.
Yeah,
his end payout.
Yeah,
and I think he held out and got it.
I hope he did. I can't remember.
I don't want to look it up. I'm going to be afraid that he took it a couple of weeks before the end,
because that would be tragic.
Yeah, but anyway, it was a funny story.
Yeah, I mean, that's so crazy. That's a crazy bet. That'll end a bookie's existence.
Yeah, honestly.
It's hilarious.
Oh, yeah, the bookies did not like Leicester's title win.
Yeah,
they did not enjoy that at all.
Yeah, any kind of joke bet that a Leicester fan threw out there was deadly to them.
Right. Well, anyway, that takes us to rock bottom Southampton.
Southampton.
let's continue this relegation shopping spree. The big name is obviously James Ward-Prowse. Is that fair to say?
I think so. Again, this is another one of those teams that I don't know if I've watched a ton of their stuff, and I see some names on here where I'm like, maybe they're decent, maybe they're not.
Well, none of them are having great years.
That's
but
just
I
it,
do
yeah.
think there's talent in the squad, though.
Like Suleimana.
Suleimana always makes a good impression on me.
Is Lavia on loan from City? Or is he just no? Wait. I can't tell if he's on loan or not. He's one, too, that's like a young midfielder, Belgian midfielder that might be decent.
I'm looking at this Southampton squad, and I'm like, maybe I do see why they're rock bottom.
Yeah, right?
For some reason, I thought there were more gems to be dug out of here than I'm seeing.
Yeah, right? I was looking at them earlier, too, and I was like, oof, this is...
I think they have a lot of players, speaking of Theo Walcott, they have a lot of players capable of pulling out a highlight reel that goes completely against their usual skill set.
Yeah.
That, will pull and leave an impression on you. So you're like, oh yeah, that player's kind of good, but they're actually not.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah, fuck this Southampton team.
The one thing I'll say is like a lot of these players I'm clicking on, the players seem to be young. It does seem like a young team. There's a lot of old guys mixed in there. But it seems like there's a lot of young kids on this team.
All right, well, they can go down and learn in the championship then.
Yeah, maybe this team will stay together a little bit.
My South Coast heart belongs to Brighton now.
Exactly. Yeah. And also, it's always belonged to Pompey anyway.
Yeah, exactly. We're holding out, looking out to the horizon, like
waiting for
holding
Portsmouth.
A locket against our chest, waiting for Portsmouth to come back.
Waiting for Portsmouth to return.
With a sick kit. They got to go back to that Brighton rugby kit sponsorship.
Yeah. Brighton will hold me over until then, though.
Yeah, Brighton's way sicker than Portsmouth ever was. If
It's
we're being
true.
honest.
They're awesome. They're super awesome. So fun to watch.
Should we transition to talk a little bit about this coming weekend, or should we wrap it up? What do you think? We were just talking about how nasty that Southampton team is. What a perfect opportunity for Arsenal to turn it around, right?
Yeah, I mean that's what it is. It's like this has to be the confidence booster going into City.
Yeah. Do you think you can put 6 past them?
I think they should be able to put 6 past them. I want to see a thrashing, honestly.
Yeah, hitting relegation candidates for thrashings is all the rage right now.
First of all, all jokes aside, we need a thrashing. We need to make up goal difference.
Yeah.
If you're Mikel Arteta, I think that's how you're forming this whole thing this week is like, this is your opportunity. Like, we're at home against a team, like rock bottom team. You have to put things right against Southampton. And like, I think they will. Hopefully, there's some hard lessons were learned in the last 2 games. Mm-hmm. That we're not going to be able to just lay off teams after putting on a show for the first few minutes. So yeah, I think this will be hopefully a good weekend for Arsenal. But
yeah, I hope so too, Alex.
It's funny. I'm actually looking at the win probability, and guess what Southampton's is?
What?
6%.
6%. Damn.
Yeah, it's pretty harsh. Pretty harsh. But yeah, we'll see. Arsenal's got to take care of business.
Yeah, this is definitely the storyline to follow now. I think we're going to focus more and more on this as the season wraps up.
Title race is getting
Obviously,
tight.
we've really loved this expansive relegation battle this season. It's starting to tidy up a little bit.
Yeah, I think we'll be done talking about it fairly soon. Like, the teams are going to start to shake out
depending on which way results go the next 2 or 3 windows. I think we could see a pretty clear picture of relegation this year.
Shortly, yeah. Whereas I think this title race is literally going to probably go down to the last day.
Go down to the wire. I don't know if we've mentioned it on mic yet, but months ago, I want to say like back in December, Lukey Moore of the Football Ramble, he was giving his buddy Jim, also of the Football Ramble, who is an Arsenal fan, a hard time.
Poor
and
Jim.
saying that he crunched the numbers and he predicts that Arsenal's going to lose it on the last day. That's why I would like to do constant mental health check-ins with Alex to see where he's at.
Tell you what, Lukey, you better not come tour America again if they're right. If you're right.
If Lukey's right, we can.
If this is Morstradamus coming to get me, I'm going to be furious with you, Lukey. Furious.
We have that video of him taking Malort shots in Chicago.
It's
we
true.
can
We'll
post.
release the tape.
All right. I think that'll just about do it for episode 20. Yeah.
Thanks, y'all. Thanks for being with us for 20 episodes now.
Yeah. we're getting through it. The places: go to Spotify, go to Apple, follow, rate, review, and
subscribe,
and tell people about the podcast.
Share.
Word of mouth is still the best thing.
Yeah, share with your friends.
Right on.
Make them listen to at least one episode.
Yes, not episode 19 because that one sounded bad for some reason.
Yeah, it was a weird one.
But from here on out, it's going to be nothing but excellence.
Yes.
So thanks, y'all, and we'll see you next week.
Later.
Soccer situation. Soccer situation.